For today's Literary Corner, On Hashish by Walter Benjamin, the great radical thinker and literary theorist who did his experimentations during the time of the Weimar Republic, before his tragic end on the run from the Nazis. I'm Lex Pelger. I do Canna Education for CV Sciences, the makers of these excellent CBD and THC products. On the cannabinoids, ask me anything. So if by any chance you've been following along with my personal account, you'll know that I inherited 66 boxes of books from a family friend named Uncle Buck, and he had a fantastic psychoactive collection. And so I've read this one online. I've never actually held it in my hand before, and it is a classic. Walter Benjamin is incredibly hard to categorize. I'm reading through his selected writings right now, and he's all over the place. He is grappling with the problems of evil. He is doing psychogeography of being a flaneur, the French word for wanderer, and trying to describe cities, as well as being a radical literary theorist in a Marxist vein. Really fantastic, phenomenal stuff, and sometimes very hard to decipher. So this isn't so much a book as it is a collection of his drug protocols, which really means times he just got stoned, as well as descriptions of some of the people he knew who were quite movers and shakers in the literary world of this time between the wars, which is a very rich time for literature, as well as descriptions of his experiences like wandering around Marseille on hashish and what that felt like. More than almost anybody, you can say that he took drugs because he read about drugs in a book. He read Artificial Paradises by Baudelaire, who was pretty anti-hashish if he was playing it straight in his writings. But still, he talked about the illuminations that could come, and Benjamin started talking about the ability of hashish and mescaline to cause profane illumination, as he called it. So this is not so much a book as a jumbled collection, because he always wanted to turn this into a great piece of philosophy based around hashish, but he never got there, and he considered that a great failure. So really, this literature is a jumble of apparently scientific drug protocols, psychological fragments, philosophical observations, essays, short stories, and other generic oddities, according to the introduction by Martin Boone, who is a famous writer and historian on the history of drugs. In the tradition of the Romantics and the Symbolists, he saw hashish as a way to learn about himself and about the workings of the universe. He called it the colportage phenomenon of space, as in unexpected stations in a familiar milieu or place. To quote, he says, "The feeling of loneliness is very quickly lost. My walking stick begins to give me a special pleasure. The handle of a coffee pot used here suddenly looks very large, and moreover, remains so. One becomes so tender, fears that a shadow falling on the paper might hurt it. One reads the notices on the urinals." He even sees the ghosts of a barricade in a modern Paris street and thinks about the interpenetration of history into the current time. And as someone who's a great thinker and knower of history and himself, On Hashish is one of the most interesting things you can ever read about our favorite plant.